bug spray.
Until the end. I got a fuzzy sore on it. I was rubbing it a little.
The girls are good.
Yeah.
What are they doing?
Yeah.
Marissa has been babysitting for Hope Horwitz for the girls. That ended yesterday.
Oh my God!
She has a new job starting next week. And then she leaves on the 15th for college because she's going to do orientation. She's a salesperson. Delaney was working at a bakery.
I couldn't find it.
She quit. They were
Trust me, I'm down every day.
and she's baking for Dad's Deli in Marlton.
Yeah.
So she bakes for him and then he sells them. And this week she spent the week down the shore with my cousins, hanging out and helping with their 3 kids. And she's just kind of, and so she goes to college the end of August. And I'm just working full time. I'm now Larchmont Imaging.
Where are you on the...
Well, I'm in Willingboro, but I get to all. So, yeah. Yeah, he spent last week in Harlem. He worked in the Mirror Pond.
Same with Fenway Park.
I was down the shore with them last weekend. They don't have a place. My cousin and my aunt and my sister does, and we met in Wyoming. So we all went down for the day to see my cousin came over from Boston, and we came to see everybody.
I'm going to stand up and get all these drugs. I'm not sitting down and just hard. What can I say? I have to step here.
Chicago broke.
You know when I got
The only counselor that I knew kept up. She said,
bottom was cut off, but
you know,
the bottom was cut off.
yeah, no, and she was like, oh, she was like, grandmother.
She put it down in the office right before I was able to do my copy.
Oh, perfect.
I'll talk to you. Yes, so good seeing you. Yeah, let me,
Karen and Ken are bringing
It's already 7:30. Can I get ready?
Yeah, well, they already brought one and they're carrying it over.
Shabbat Shalom.
Hello, Rabbi.
And so if you can hear the sound of my voice, wave hello. Just want to make sure we're on good sound.
That's
A
better.
little louder. Better. Yes. So
better.
okay. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
So I'm so delighted that the weather cooperated this this week. It's lovely out. There's a breeze. It's cloudy, so we're not too baking in the sun, and it's Shabbat. So glad you're here. And as others are able, they will join us when they're ready. And this is a special Shabbat. Well, they're all special, but this Shabbat, our Torah portion is Balak. And in Balak, there's a story in which Balak is the king and calls on Prophet Balaam to go out and curse those Israelites because the king is afraid that the Israelites will become too strong. But Balaam is not able to utter any words but those words which God puts into his mouth. And so the prayer that we usually sing in the morning when we walk into the synagogue is the prayer that we're going to open with tonight, Ma Tovu.
So we're going to do a little call and response because the words are not in your booklet. So repeat after me, Ma Tovu.
Ma Tovu.
Ma Tovu.
Ma Tovu.
You know this, I can hear it. Oh Halecha Yaakov.
Oh Halecha Yaakov.
And then the second time we're going to go down on Yisrael. So let's try the whole thing through both times. Ma Tovu, O Halecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma Tovu, O Halecha Yaakov, So luckily we have a singing rabbi. And so from Stan Fishman over this way, you're going to be with me. And then from Stan Fishman over this way, you're going to be with Rabbi.
Stand here or there?
Stan's on my side.
Okay.
Good question.
I think it's on my side.
And if you think you're right along the fence, choose a side.
You're on my side.
The monitors are not here. Okay, are we ready? My side. We're gonna start. Matovu, oh
Beautiful. Sign them all up for choir.
Okay, look, sign-ups for choir right after the service.
We continue with the lighting of and the blessing for our Shabbat candles and our Kiddush. It's my pleasure to call forward Judy and Larry Marcus.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Amen.
We continue now on page 2 as we welcome in the metaphorical Shabbat bride with Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat, nekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat, nekabela. Shamor v'zachor v'rimor echad, Ishianu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, v'shemo tiferet v'lichila. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat, nekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat, nekabela. Likrat Shabbat, lechu v'necha, ki mikor ha'beracha, mirosh mikelen nesucha. Sof maaseh v'gam Shabbat kila. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat, nekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat, nekabela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, ki moreh umiori, uri uri, shir tameri.
הדודי לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבל. We rise and we face what would be our entrance to this sanctuary space. Boi v'shalom ateret kala, gam b'simcha u'zola, toch emunei am sevula. Boi kala, boi kala, הדודי לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבלה. הדודי לקראת כלה, הנה שבת נקבלה. And so we remain standing and turn to somebody, perhaps not the person next to us if we already know that person, someone in front of us, behind us, and introduce yourselves to one another and greet one another. Shabbat Shalom.
Excuse me, are you no name?
I'm Perry.
Oh, yes. I don't see.
Oh, you
can grab it there, yeah.
Yep, plenty of shopping.
I just came down. So last Friday night we were at Chapel on the Hill celebrating 7.
Decent turnout.
Yes, Tony. Shabbat Shalom, Tom. Shabbat Shalom.
I was for the last 7, 8
I thought he said it to me.
And we can continue these conversations following our Shabbat worship. As we turn now to page 3, and we continue with Baruch Hu. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruch et Adonai, HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai, HaMevorach, Le'olam Noed, Le'olam Noed. Yalalai, lai, lai, 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 yalalai, lai, lai.
We are continuing with Shema and Thou Shalt Love. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shem Kevod, Shem Kevod, Malchuto Leolam, Leolam Vaed. Please be seated as may custom. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with
shall be in thy heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and thou shalt speak of them when thou sittest in thy house, and thou walkest by the way, and when thou risest up, and when thou liest down, and when thou liest down, and thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be for frontlets between thine eyes, and thou shalt write them on the doorposts of thy house, and upon thy gates, and upon thy gates, and we may remember and do all of my commandments, and be holy unto your God, unto your God, unto your God.
As we turn now to page 4, and we sing that song of freedom that our ancestors were able to rejoice when they were not only freed from Egypt, but they were freed from the hands of Pharaoh. Mi chamocha. Mi chamocha elim Adonai, mi chamocha me'edor kodesh, Nora tehilo osei felech, Nora tehilo osei felech. Malichut yekama u'manecha, bukei alayim mipni shemerio, ze Elianu ve'amru, ze Elianu ve'amru, Adonai yimlo ve'olam va'ed, Adonai yimlo ve'olam va'ed. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Veshamru b'nei Israel, Veshamru b'nei Israel, et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, le'torah berit olam veshamru, beini u'bein b'nei Israel oti le'olam, veshamru b'nei Israel, veshamru b'nei Israel, et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, le'torah berit olam veshamru, ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, veshamru rise for tefillah. Na 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 Adonai. Na 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 Slatai Tita. Na 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 Ufiaki. Ufiaki. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elokei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elokei Avraham Elokei Yitzchak Elokei Yaakov Elokei Sarah Elokei Rivka Elokei Rachel Elokei Leah Ha'el Gadol HaGibor HaNorah Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Amor V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot U'Mevii Gula Livnei B'neihem Leman Shemo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshiach Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham V'Zvat Sarah Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai Mechaye HaKol Atah Le'Oshia Morid Atah Mechacher Chaim B'Chesed Mechaye HaKol B'Rachamim Rabim Sovek Noflim V'Rofei Cholim U'Matir Asurim U'Mekaye B'Emunato B'Shelei Afar Mi Kamocha Ba'al Geburot U'Midom Elah Melech Meniv U'Mekaye U'Mashiach Yeshua V'Ne'eman Atah Hayot HaKol Baruch atah Adonai Mechaye HaKol. At the bottom of page 7, may these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon B'chol HaShalom. V'tov b'necha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים thoughts and prayers turn now to those who are in need of healing, and so we turn in the middle of page 8. If you're watching us through the blessing of technology and want to add the name of someone you're thinking of at this time who's in need of healing, whether it be a healing of the body or a healing of the spirit, feel free to add that person's name into the comments or chat as we extend our blessings to them as well. And for those of you who are here in person, I'll invite you to stand after I've read the names of those in our extended Adith Emmanuel family who are in need of healing. Jeff Schaefer, Marjorie Spindle, Lulu Revuela, Marion Gwertz, Aaron Tepper, Lily Tepper, William Broderick, Joan Major, Karen Bowen, Louis Alahut, Mary Parker, Barbara Cohn, Tricia Tepper, Jordan Maverick Steinberg, Carol Schaefer, Harriet Rosenberg, Hudson Hodge, Carrie Basin, Dr. Jerry Herman, Todd Pollard, Murray Kemmerman, Mary Mednitsky, Jocelyn Jackson, Jen Jones, Shirley Friedlander, Michael Infante, Gary Garnick, Sarah Oken, Ann Marsden, Jerry Dreskin, Linda Romsberg, Rick Ulrich, Ileana Cohen. And for those of you who are here in person, if you have another name you would like to add, feel free to rise in your place and say their name aloud.
Ari Deutsch, Robin Levy, Martin Olson.
Joe Wright.
Robin Epstein.
Howard Sohm and Michael Brzezinski.
Baruch atah Adonai, Rofei HaCholim.
Before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishebeirach imotenu, rekor habracha. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We continue our prayer now silently.
Adonai, Suri, Ve'yoni b'lifnecha. Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri ve'goali. Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri ve'goali.
As I mentioned earlier, King Balak is nervous about the increase in number of the Israelites. And so he says to the prophet Balaam, "Here is a people that came out of Egypt and hides the earth from view. Come now and curse them for me. Perhaps I can engage them in battle and drive them off." But God sees things differently, and so does Balaam. The first time Balaam attempts to curse the Israelites, he sees only a portion of them, and he recites, "Who can count the dust of Jacob, number the dust cloud of Israel? May I die the death of the upright. May my fate be like theirs." Not such a great curse. The second time Balak sees a portion of the Israelites from a different angle, having climbed to the peak of another mountain, from here he says, "No harm in sight for Jacob, no woe in view for Israel. The eternal, their God, is with them, and their sovereigns acclaim in their midst." And then the third time, King Balak schleps Balaam to the top of another peak, angry that Balaam is reciting words of blessing when Balak is ordering him to curse them. And so from this summit, they can see the entire Israelite community. And so Balaam speaks the words which I mentioned earlier are part of our morning prayer. And we sang this at the beginning of the service, "Matovu ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael." How good are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel. And following 3 attempts to try to curse the Israelites, Balaam is only able to speak words of blessing. The words we speak have power. In the case of Balaam's attempted curse, the Israelites remain blessed. Blessed by the words of Balaam, blessed by God. Words have power. They have the power to elevate the hearts, minds, and attitudes when the spoken words are of praise or encouragement or honor, of hope. Think of the way that teachers speak positively to their students and watch them rise to the occasion. But words can also have negative power when the spoken words insult, defame, or discourage. They can degrade the person or people about whom the words are spoken, and that negativity can spread. Can you think for a moment in your mind of an example, either the positive word spreading or the negative word spreading? So turn to someone near you. See if you got the same idea in your mind that you were thinking. Or maybe you both thought of a positive, or maybe you both thought of a negative, or opposite. Let's share some of our thoughts of how we've witnessed words spread, either positively or negatively.
Based on the 2005 research that was done in anti-virus World War II, was taken 80 years instead of 40 years.
That's right. We're better. I think I was at the board. I got A's. Every marking period for 2 years, I got all A's. Because
I'm pretty positive about the negative, but a little negative about the positive.
Come up with anything good?
Yes, yes.
And what about positive? No, okay. I don't even know where that is. That would have been good.
These days, you should find the toilet bladder under the silver. Yes.
Yeah. I had that problem always with
You like that? You like that?
I wrote the paper I wrote from
Is it real?
yeah.
It's not real sweet, but I mean, it's on the sweet side.
It was not the rewrite. There was the episode where I guess they went to a baby
Get the baby in a
setting. That was one of the
Yeah.
He loves sports. There was somebody who had to go to a site. Danny probably learned that thing at they ran for
well, you know what? It was cheap for me. They talked about salads to onion. It was $10 per thing. Celery alone was nice. And I don't use it. So I said, well,
How doesn't it affect me? How doesn't it affect me? I mean, to be honest,
Yeah.
Amy's from the East, I'm from the Midwest. But I'm leaving my job. So when I come here for good, then I'll Now, this all came about so fast that for my wife. Oh, really? Okay. Sure. You know if it was off Lakeshore Drive or Sheridan? Okay. Very nice, yeah. Gold Coast is what we call that area. Okay. I wonder how that would work these days. I wonder how that would work these days because nobody has encyclopedias anymore. The internet is right, but now it used to be if you wanted information, like in high school or even when I went to college, you're doing a research paper, that was always a starting point. Then you go for information.
Anybody can have it.
Now you go to Google and Yahoo doesn't really exist anymore.
Hey, everything advances.
True, but I mean, I assume it wiped out the encyclopedia. It's just like telephones. Who has a telephone book in it? They don't exist.
Only to sit on to get a couple extra inches if you need.
Yeah, I mean, you're asking about moving. I just I have an office set up in my home because at one point I was working online. So I had.
Oh, so you can.
I had numerous.
Anywhere. You can be anywhere.
Well, no, that was a different position.
Oh.
I can't do that. But I just, in unpacking and get ready, or unloading boxes and get ready to pack, I just got rid of all my phone books. But I haven't opened them in years. So, I mean, they were just there. I didn't need them. And I got them. So, I mean, it affects everything. My family's in Chicago. My family's in Chicago. My wife's so.
Wow. You know what?
So, and I don't mean that in a negative
No,
way.
no.
She's here now. She started July 1st. So she's been living here. My wife.
Oh,
Rabbi.
Yep.
She's been living here, and
It all streams from the phone.
that's what they're seeing.
Yep. Yeah.
Very much, I think so. You're all wonderful people. It's a nice place.
Yeah, YouTube and Facebook.
Congregation so far. So this is the first time I've been to a service.
Oh.
Because again, I've been in Chicago.
It's a nice school.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. It is difficult.
50 years, 50.
Right. But it's just it's an awkward feeling.
So you were here long before this location.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We've been here since 1969.
Same year as my car.
So we had some great examples
car. I have a
from
1969
some
Tesla.
here,
Do you really?
both
Wow.
positive and negative.
Good year.
One example is you can give criticism that might seem negative at first, but you can do better. Like, that wasn't so terrific. You can do better. And it's negative, but it's also positive. And if you say that you can do better, to try to hang on to that, make that effort and raises us up. We had another example of a teacher saying, giving that higher grade, and then giving that student the self-confidence because it came from the teacher. The student then had the self-confidence, and that elevated that person. Or the example of a negative where someone could, preach hateful words into a crowd and rile up a crowd to spread hatred in that way. So it can happen in both contexts. Do you have some examples from that? The people you visited?
The examples I
bless our
had were the
ex-president.
same exact ones you said, but there was an observation that was made that it's interesting how many of us will immediately internalize the negative, but it's hard for us to internalize and accept the positive, and that we should work a little harder to take in the positive.
Interesting, thank you. So thank you for, sharing with one another and with all of us to help emphasize this idea about words having power. I have a story that comes from our tradition, which I think exhibits this. And it's a story in which the parts of the body are arguing and bragging which is the most powerful part. Once there was a king who had a beautiful and intelligent daughter whom he was trying to marry off, and every time he chose someone, the princess somehow rejected that man. One day, a simple young man of peasant stock fixed the king's wheel on his wagon, and the princess took an instant liking to this young man. And though he was not a nobility, he was a good, kind man, and he was being protected by the angel of Mazel being luck. So the king started giving this young man tasks and tests, each one being a little more challenging and dangerous than the next. And the young man, he finished these tasks and passed these tests quickly and with ease. And each time he finished a task, he became more endeared to the princess. And she was hoping that her father would give her permission to marry him. Then one day the king fell ill. Doctors came from all over the kingdom to try to treat him. And after consultation that concluded that the king had this rare disease that could only be cured by the milk of a lioness, the king called upon the young man to fetch this milk from the lioness. The young man agreed. And the king, so impressed by the young man's bravery, testified that day that if this young man could bring him this milk from the lioness, he could have his daughter's hand in marriage. And so the young man went off to find the lioness, and during this journey, the parts of his body started getting to an argument, unbeknownst to him. And so each was saying how they were the best. Because what happened was the feet were saying, look, I'm bringing us out into the place where we know that the lioness dwells, and without me, the feet, there would be no possible way that we could get there. And so the hands said, yes, but it's going to be up to me, the hands, to actually do the milking of the lioness to get the milk, to bring it back to the king. And the eyes said, oh yes, but if it weren't for me, for the eyes, we would not even see this lioness. So the eyes are undoubtedly the best part of the body. And the ears said, oh, you may think so, but it's really the ears, because even before we get to that place, we have to hear what demeanor is the lion in. Will the lion roar and we can't approach it? Or is it going to welcome us with a soft purr? Now, successfully, the man was able to approach this lioness, get the milk, and started to bring the milk back. And the body parts continued to argue, each of them being so proud of their role in getting this, but each claiming that it was the best. And when the young man returned so soon, he approached the king carrying in his hands this jug and said, Your Majesty, I have brought what you sent me for. Here is the milk of a dog. A dog? The king said. You shall die for this. Why would the young man have said this? Now, all the parts of the body were worried because they would die as a result of what the young man said. How dare the mouth put their lives in jeopardy this way? You see, on the return trip home, when all these body parts were arguing with one another, the mouth did not participate. But in 1 second, the mouth showed the others which body part was truly most powerful. The mouth showed the power of words. And the other body parts were yelling at it, now we're going to all be put to death. And once the other body parts agreed that yes, indeed, the mouth was most powerful, the mouth spoke again, explaining the reason why the mouth said dog instead of lioness. So the young man opened his mouth to speak again. And he said, well, the lion is the king of animals, but in comparison to you, Your Majesty, he is no more than a dog, which is simply an expression of my admiration and respect. And so the mouth proved to the other body parts that it was the strongest and most powerful. And the king did not give the man the death penalty and let the young man marry his daughter after all. And of course, they lived happily ever after. Of our body parts, our mouths may arguably be the most powerful. For the words we speak do have power. When negative, degrading words spread, they spoil our societal atmosphere. Conversely, positive, encouraging words can elevate. So people question as to whether Balaam had the free will to utter the words other than those which were put into his mouth by God. A commentator by the name of Rashi, medieval French commentator and rabbi, noted that by the third time that Balaam spoke to give that message about the Israelites, he declared those fated words. He had made up his mind for himself, and it wasn't God who was forcing him to speak those words. It was Balaam himself who decided to bless and not curse. We too have the free will today to use our words for curse or blessing. Our words have power. Let us use them to speak up against degrading and derogatory comments, whether they are directed at us or at others. And let the words we utter be of encouragement and hope. May they elevate the positive and be for a blessing. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Rabbi.
As we continue now with Aleinu, let us adore as we are able, we rise.
Let us adore
Adore
the ever-living God.
the ever-living God
And render praise unto God.
unto God,
And establish the earth, and whose glory is revealed in the heavens above, whose greatness is manifest throughout
the world.
And is our God, there is none else.
ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר חיו אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Our thoughts turn now to those who are no longer with us. You may be seated. Those who have died recently and those whose yard sites we observe on the Shabbat. We announce with sadness the death of our member Rick Fonero, husband of Laura Otterberg. The service will be Tuesday, July 26th at noon at Platt, and you can check your email if you haven't seen that already. And we think of those who have died of the season in years past, whose yard sites we mark on the Shabbat. Louis Fisher, Isidore Gittler, Rose Grossman, Lily Roth Gutman, Nathan Kavitsky, Gilbert Kaysen, William Kennedy, Evelyn Krantz, Dorothy Lipson, Lillian Litz, Belle Osler, Robert Richmond, Zelda Rosen, Barbara Rothschild, Doris Schaffman, Rebecca Slaughterhoff, Bootsy Weiss. And so I would invite you now, if you are in the period of Shiva, to rise at this time. If you're in the period of Shloshim, the 30 days, you may rise at this time. If you are observing a yard site on this Shabbat, or you are in the first year of mourning, to rise at this time. And if you are watching us through the blessing of technology and want to add the name of your loved one if that person's name was not recited this evening, please feel free to do so at this time. Zichronam Livracha. May their memories be for blessing as we all rise now in comfort and support, continuing on page 10 with Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, v'yalmad divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayichon v'yamechon v'chayichol Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam le'olam. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei tekudashah b'riyaku. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Ta'amiran b'yama v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlomo Rabbah min Shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav. Uyaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say,
Amen.
May be seated. It's my pleasure to call forward Diane Singer to share with us some announcements. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Diane.
I have to say, I love that story. I'm mesmerized. I love it, so thank you. Thank you. And thank you again, Rabbi Nemes Fuller, Cantor Sandy, Shana, for leading us in tonight's service. Thank you to Judy and Larry for leading us in tonight's blessings. Thank you to Laura and Orly for greeting this evening. Judy and Orly for setting up. Oneg and Perry for streaming tonight's service. A special welcome to Rabbi Nemes Fuller's husband, David, is here today. And a special mazel tov to both of you. I don't know if you heard, but there was a closing today. They are officially Jersey. Right? Okay.
Jersey girl.
Yeah, Jersey girl. Okay. And Jersey boys, isn't there that show too? So there you go. Anyway, and as always, a special thank you to all of you for joining us this evening. Please join us tomorrow morning at 8:45 for Torah Talk and Bagels, followed by our Simply Shabbat morning service at 10 a.m. This Wednesday is Adith's second meet and greet with Rabbi Nemes Fuller. It begins at 7 p.m. and it's a Zoom meeting, so check your emails for the links. Sisterhood's annual Rosh Hashanah honey sale has begun. Order before August 1st to avoid shipping fees. And Sisterhood is also asking for donations for their annual rummage sale, scheduled for Sunday, July 31st. Drop-offs of your donations are in room 10 at Adith. The Red Cross is sponsoring their blood drive this Sunday from 9 to 2. Please check your Adith emails again for the link to make an appointment. Also, please mark your calendars for a Havdalah in the Park, an event for all ages, Saturday evening, July 30th at the large pavilion at Laurel Acres Park on Church Street in Mount Laurel. We're starting at 5:30 and we have the pavilion till dusk, okay? And also in 3 weeks, Friday, August 5th, is our summer open house, starting with the Tat Shabbat, then tours of Adith, Shabbat services, and for those of you that know me, Mr. Softy will be doing Oneg again. And I know, and you have the battle of the body parts. I have to deal with the battle of Kona Ice, Mr. Softy. Kona Ice, Mr. Softy. But it's Mr. Softy this time, okay? So please join us for tonight's Oneg. It's in the back or the front. It's over there. Hopefully you'll stay and enjoy a treat. Stay for a moment, chat with Rabbi Nemes Fuller, and meet her lovely husband. And tonight's thought for Shabbat, not even realizing what you were going to say, kindness is free, so sprinkle it everywhere. Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Diane. Thank you.
For our closing song, I need our beautifully voiced energy leader to come with us. We are going to close with Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, found on the bottom of your last page. And you should take the microphone. Yes.
Really? That's what I'm gonna do.
All right. No.
Oh wait. Oh, just leave it. Okay. Yeah, there you go. All right, you guys ready? All right. Oh Yavo Shalom Aleinu. 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 Shalom Aleinu, Shalom Aleinu, one more time. Shalom Aleinu, Shalom Aleinu, Shalom Aleinu,
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Oh.
Oh wait, do we have to do, did I miss the motzi? Because it's covered so nicely so it wouldn't be embarrassed. Baruch
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz v'yavon.
and Shabbat
Shalom.
Nice job being a filmographer.
Hey, I
Is that
tried.
the right word, filmographer?
I like it. I don't know.
Well,
Tonight
it
it is.
should be.
Tonight it is.
Okay.
You've already heard that.
I should